Well, I almost forgot this one. I guess you probably don't know that, but I was all cleaned up and I shut down the studio for the day. And I realized I hadn't even opened the TRX4. That's how busy I've been. I did a bunch of trailers today, which you're gonna see, I guess, releasing in some order, like the Proline SCX-10 III, I'm sorry, the Axial SCX-10 III, then the Axial SCX-6, which is a behemoth. This is another in that kind of line of RC cars that are meant for going slow, but looking cool and having a lot of functionality at low speed that you just generally don't get at high speed. This is the Traxxas TRX4, which they've been pumping out like crazy. They have a they have a 6-wheel version of this. I like the High Trail Edition, just like I like the Silverado, like 1882 K10 Silverado. What do you get with this? Now again, this is for a different type of RC person, somebody that likes to go slow and conquer various like obstacles and you know, things of that nature. You do get some beefy servo. You have a Metal Gear digital servo. You have a high and low range transmission in this, which is really cool. You've obviously got the T-Lock remote locking differentials, bringing that kind of back from the Summit. I don't know if they still make the Summit, but the Summit was one of my all-time favorite RCs. It was fast enough in high gear to rip still, and in low gear for crawling. I think they should bring it back or upgrade it or re-release it. You've got, you know, they're worried about torque twist, so they've done a total gear axle gear reduction with portals, now over twice non-portal designs, virtually eliminating torque twist. You have the Titan 550 brushed motor, 21 turn. That's the motor that they've had for a million years. You have the Canyon Trail 2.2-inch tires, the same TRX4 scale ESC. You got inner fenders, cruise control, the rigid steel frame with improved geometry. You've got steep approach angles for the front and rear, up to 73.5 degrees. Also the extra long aluminum GTS shocks. The TRX also has a pair of 1.5 millimeter thick steel frame rails, and you've got all the scale details that you want. This has by the way, this has the installed from the factory, not all of them come with this, is the long arm lift kit with the 2.2-inch wheels and tires that gives you a full extra inch of ground clearance, which matters obviously. It's a lot of fun to use these scalers. It's what I would call scaling or rock crawling a community event. You know, it's really, most RCing, by the way, in general, including bashing, is the most fun with friends. You want to get your friends into it. That's really why I ended up starting collecting them, is so that, you know, friends who didn't have one could start, you know, could still come over and we could still hobby with RCs. This thing is beautiful. Oh, look at you, Trax. It's getting into the scale game. Obviously, they have your standard remote in there. Now, this is the F-150 Ranger look. They've got it nice and protected, which is what you like to see. When you're a scale person, you don't want necessarily a bunch of dings and dents and all other kind of garbage going on with your RC truck. You want it to look good. People take a lot of pride in it, and it's nice to see that Traxxas actually took a second to protect this thing. You've got the mirrors. They don't turn in like some of the Axial stuff does, but everything kind of moves around. This is nice. This looks actually really scaled too. Makes me want to have the actual truck, you know, have one of them like restored so that you have this actual kit. Now this also has the clipless body design. Now they're all always generally in like a little different location, but that should be it, yep. And what you see here is a lot of interesting ladybugs. This is the last ladybug surviving of the year. Here you have these really high wheel wells. And if you also look, the battery is mounted over the center axle, over the center for the, you know, for your weight distribution. They have everything right over the center. When you look at, for example, like a Slash monster truck, you know, a Slash or a Stampede or whatever, usually everything's sticking over on the right here. Here they have it all over the center, so that it gives you maximum weight distribution, or keeps your weight over your center so that you don't tip as easily. It makes it great for scaling. You see here the little XL5 ESC. This looks like the servo for the high and low gear. I'm actually excited for this. Look at these little 2065A steering servos. I assume you have, so in this model, it looks like you have separate steering servos for the front and the rear. No, I'm wrong. The 2075X, which is their metal gear steering servo, is there. So what are these other servos? Normally you have one for high and low gear, maybe for cruise control too. That might be for cruise control. That's interesting. There's a lot going on in here. Wow, you know what? I thought Traxxas was going to kind of mail it in with their scale stuff because Axial for so long has really set the standard, but this is getting pretty close. Nice, soft, sticky, tacky tires. You have a lot of ground clearance, and the scaleness looks great. They got the antenna hit underneath here. This is going to run on a 2S LiPo, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, what a nice little kit. I mean, they have a lot of these fun things. Okay, so for example, this is what my plans are for it. They sell a track kit, so you can replace the tires with tracks. Looks like you get 4 oil-filled shocks, rubber-sealed ball bearings, and the front and rear tracks, and also increased ground clearance. So that's my plan with this, is to have it have the tracks on it. Although I really like the scale look of it, but for me, RC is about fall and winter time. It's not something that I generally get a lot of time to do in the summer or even in spring, because I'm just so busy with my other job, which is running a channel called The Quartering, which is like news and pop culture news and stuff like that. RC for me is really a winter thing. Winter time, January is generally kind of slow in terms of news, although this year with Trump winning the election, the inauguration ought to be wild. But yeah, this is pretty nice. You got a lot of travel on these shocks. You got a lot of steel on here, not a lot of plastic. You have a couple of scale little touches around the outside. You got the steel rail here on the body, keeping that stuff together. I'm really impressed by this. Now, how does it perform compared to, something like the Axial SCX10, which has been doing this for a million years? Probably not as good, but it does have a much higher center of gravity or clearance than that does. It's got much bigger tires. Now, we can go back and forth on big tires, little tires, because it's not always better to have big tires when you're scaling, because sometimes you need to get in between smaller areas and kind of torque the wheels left and right, and kind of free yourself or find a different angle to get through obstacles. That's why I say that scaling is always a fun thing to do with friends, because ultimately, you're going to get stuck, and yeah, any dork can you could just grab it and unstick yourself, of course, but it's way more fun to have a friend who also has a scaler that has like a winch on it. They also make the TRX4 in a flatbed, like 6-wheel. So it's like a big flatbed, so you could use the winch to scale yours, to bring yours up onto the flatbed. I know it's like, some people think it's kind of goofy. It's like pretend world, like, oh, but that's what scaling's about. It's about having fun. It's about being realistic. And again, you wouldn't buy this if you want to go fast. You wouldn't buy this if you wanted to do jumps. That's not what this is for. That's not what this is meant for. Just like this Mustang drift car is not for anything but drifting. This is really not for anything but crawling. Same with that. You wouldn't, here we have this giant, I should probably take this off. You probably can't even see it. Yeah, you could just see the bottom of it. But this thing, 26-pound crawler. I mean, this is a 6-scale crawler. This is a 10 scale. But it's a different thing. These aren't meant to go fast. I love having high and low gear. Absolutely love that. So let me know, what do you think? Is the TRX4 an actual real competitor to the SCX10? or does it still have a long way to go? I'm pretty impressed with what they have going on here, so let me know. If you're new to the channel, make sure that you subscribe, leave a like on the video. We'll talk to you again real soon.